Hello, I'm Alex Mansfield, the host of Manny Talks Shooting, and welcome to another episode. This is the shooting podcast where I talk to individuals all across the shooting industry. We'll talk competition, self-defense, concealed carry. If you like this content, check out our YouTube channel, Manny Talks Shooting. And without further ado, let's get to this episode. Welcome, everybody. Welcome back to another installment of Manny Talks Shooting, the shooting podcast on the internet, for the internet, because I like sitting in my office space talking to my friends on the internet. Without further ado, we got to talk about the title sponsor. If anybody notices, this is not the same banner. This is a different banner. It has a black border, black background, so it's different than the last one, although it looks the same. It's from Go Fast Don't Suck, though. You know, make sure, go place an order. You can get dry fire decals for your walls so your significant other, doesn't hate you, so they just peel off real fast. Match jerseys if you want them. Banners if you're a match. They have the regular size, regular style, and the mesh ones, which I really like the mesh ones for on the range. But hey, go check them out. GoFastDon'tSuck.net. Tell them Manny sent you in the order notes. I greatly appreciate it, and move on with your day.
Yeah, those dry fire decals are pretty awesome too, Manny. So, folks, I use them. They're good.
There's some over here on this wall, but here's my problem: is I dry fire in the basement and I can't use them because I don't have finished basement walls. This is the problem about living in Michigan, right? My house did not come with finished walls. But without further ado, let me introduce you to my buddy, Mr. Brad Krumme. How you doing, Brad?
I'm doing good. It's a little odd being in my office on a Tuesday evening, but here I am doing the thing.
Yeah, this is true. You're actually at home. You're not on the road. So.
Well, yeah, that's true. Also, I mean, I'm on the road a lot for work and also shooting when it's that time of year, right? So.
I mean, yeah. Does the shooting season really end for you and I?
Not really, but also yes.
Yes. The physical part of shooting may end, but the best part is the planning and the organization and all that fun stuff.
Yeah, and if I ever get around to it, maybe a little bit of practice.
Yeah, that's true. This is true.
I'm just making excuses, though.
It's okay. It's okay. It doesn't matter how well or bad you shoot. You still beat a lot of people, especially shooting. When you shoot single stack and you beat other people, it's great.
My favorite is when I shoot single stack and I beat people shooting open.
We can't talk about their level of skill. They already know it.
No, I love everybody out on the range, though. So it's all in good fun.
Oh, it absolutely is. It definitely is. But So, Brad, for the people who don't know you or haven't seen you on the range, who are you and how'd you get into shooting, bud?
Okay, so I think most folks here who are listening have probably come across my name at some point, but if you hadn't, as Manny said, I'm Brad Krumme. How did I get into shooting? Not a really long story. I mean, I was always kind of into, messing around with rifles like 22s and stuff when I was a kid. Did the whole Boy Scout thing, so kind of got into it there.
So before you go on, do you have one of these? Do you have an Eagle Scout certificate?
No.
Sad. It's okay. You may continue.
No, when I was a teenager, I made bad choices and decided to stop.
Oh, fair enough. I mean,
right.
Yeah, your hair was longer then, right?
It was very much so. I was very much into girls and trying to be a rock star. Hence the guitars on the wall. You see the acoustics up behind me, right? But I got a couple of electrics on the wall over here too, right? But yeah, girls, rock and roll, the things that go along with girls and rock and roll, right? So yeah, there's that. But yeah, getting into shooting to kind of move on a little bit, I guess. I did the Boy Scout thing, was into rifles a little bit. It probably wasn't until my mid-20s when I decided, you know what? The world is a stupid fucking place. And I should probably do something to defend myself. So I went out, started learning, trained a little bit, ended up doing the concealed carry thing here in Ohio because we were allowed to do that then. And, ended up, basically trying to find out a way or figure out a way where I could practice and get better and, actually be proficient with a firearm. And I think it was like 2012 or 2013. I ended up shooting an IDPA match, right? Of all things, IDPA, right? And I got hooked, right? And I did that for a couple years, 2013, 2014. Like 2015 timeframe rolls around and I'm getting bored with IDPA because it's the same crap over and over again. right?
Mm-hmm.
It was all these scenarios and low round count and just everybody shoots things the same way. You don't have to use your brain at all, really. It's just go out, shoot the stuff, and be done with it. I was like, I got to find something better, and that's when I got introduced to USPSA. Shot my first USPSA match in the very beginning, like March of 2015. And for that year, I think I still shot both USPSA and IDPA for a little bit. And then quickly determined I didn't want to shoot IDPA anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I was like, okay, this is super fun. I started out just shooting 1911s, right? So on the IDPA side, for those who know both sports, I was shooting enhanced service pistol, right? So like a 9mm 1911. I just brought that right over to USPSA. Had to buy some mag pouches because I needed more mags, but was shooting that 9mm 1911 for a while.
Mm-hmm. It's because you're almost a purist because it's not in 45.
I don't give a shit about caliber, man. I mean, a 1911's a 1911. They're all pretty awesome. And
Mm-hmm.
2011's on top of that, right? With the double stack mags and everything.
Mm-hmm.
There is not, at least to me, there's not a better shooting gun. So, yeah. So, we already mentioned it earlier. Single stack's kind of my home, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I do tend to kind of go back to single stack whenever I'm, kind of feeling like, man, do I want to keep doing this? I pick up the single stack gun and go, oh yeah, that's why I started doing this again.
Yeah. Well, and there's something about, the classicness of the division, right? The sport started way back in the day.
Yeah.
Single stack 45 shooting in open division.
Yeah.
And then,
Only division.
Yeah, the only division. Then they were able to play in limited when they decided to get funky with it. But
yeah, but that was silly because, then we started having high capacity guns, right?
mm-hmm.
So, shooting a gun with 8 rounds in it when you're, shooting against guys with 20.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of also why they made like L10.
Well, yeah, L10 was like the original single stack, right?
Yeah.
Because single stack division hadn't happened yet.
No, you're right. It didn't happen yet. So as you've mentioned, you love the 1911. You are a little odd. You do shoot mostly of them in 40 now, don't you?
Yeah. So fast forward a couple years from when I started in USPSA, and I wanted to get into a high cap division, right? I'm like, you know what? Let me see what's out there, and I got into limited, right? So at the time, don't don't cancel me for this, but I was shooting for the Rudy Project team. I say that in jest, really, because most of the guys on that team and the team management were pretty cool people, right? They just get a bad rap for how they were advertising on social media and stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
But that's really what kind of propelled me into the sport a little bit further. What kind of gave me the drive to get a little bit better. And one of the team captains had an old limited gun that he wasn't shooting anymore, and offered it to me for a really good price.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, sure. So this was a Brazos limited gun, which if you know anything about custom built 2011 platform guns, Bob Londrigan at Brazos makes amazing guns. Right. This pistol maybe had a couple thousand rounds on it when I got it.
Mm-hmm.
And I ran that thing. I still got it. It's if I shoot limited, that's my backup now. But yeah, so I got that gun. That was probably 2016, 2017, and started shooting limited. And limited's in 40, right? At least to be competitive, you have to have it in 40 unless you want to shoot minor.
Yeah,
right?
We're not all Nils Jonasons, though.
No, we're not all Nils. I'm definitely not Nils. By the way, one of the nicest guys on the range.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I love when I run into Nils because he's always like he's there to murder everyone's face with his pistol on the stages, but he's happy to joke around and have a good time.
Yeah, and he helps reset. He does all the things that you would expect of somebody. That
I think
is
he likes
just
to
a great
torture
gun on
himself
range.
for being so tall though, because he does pick up the steel.
He does.
He has to
Yeah.
get all the way down there.
Right. Yeah. But yeah, so I started shooting limited. It's in 40, right? And I'm like, what am I going to do if I go back to shooting single stack, right? Am I going to keep loading 45? Because I was shooting major at the time, right? I'm like, am I going to keep loading 45? I'm like, no, this is silly. I should, get myself a single stack gun that's chambered in 40 and use the same ammo for both divisions, right? Because it just made more sense. I could sit at the press and load a whole lot of ammo for both things that I was shooting and not have to worry about it, right?
Right. Because essentially the barrel lengths are approximately going to be the same. So long
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I would make sure I loaded it so it would make major in both platforms, and never had an issue. And I was like, yep, I can just load a whole bunch of ammo. So at the time, I think I was loading on a 650, and I would just go downstairs and crank the handle on that Dillon for hours and hours and hours, loading thousands of rounds of 40 caliber.
Mm-hmm. Silly you with a 650 at that time. You didn't know any better though.
I mean, we had options, but the options weren't nearly as good as they are today, right?
Mm-hmm.
So at the time, like automation hadn't really become a thing quite yet. It was still pretty new. Definitely, there wasn't really Mark 7.
Yeah,
I mean, they probably existed, but they weren't really well known, and nobody was using them.
Was the biggest thing there was that the ammo bot by 2017?
Yeah, I think ammo bot was around 1050 only, I think. So I was kind of out of luck loaded on the 650.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, a whole lot different for me now. I just go press the dang button and the ammo pops out. It's a beautiful thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that's got to be nice nowadays. I'm still kind of jealous. I'm trying to figure out how I can do that.
Yeah, I mean, and I'm not the only one who loads on my machines either. So I got a couple buddies in the area who they'll bring their components over to my house and we'll like do a team loading event, right? Where I'll run the press. They'll do like case gauging and put stuff in boxes and everything like that while I'm making sure everything's running good. And it ends up working pretty well. And at the same time, we'll be like processing brass over the other side of the basement and doing all sorts of crap. So
I still don't let you. I don't believe that you let Sven touch your machine, though.
No, I don't let Sven touch the machine. I don't even let Clay touch the machine.
I mean, those are both fair points. Don't let either touch.
Yeah, and it's not that I wouldn't. Like, I trust Clay because he's super meticulous about all the things he does. But yeah, it's just one of those things. Like, I'll run the press, you guys do the other stuff. Sven hasn't come over to load yet, though. So far it's been Clay. I've had a couple other people come over to do like small batches of stuff. But
yeah, no, but that's so cool. But yeah, so you were loading on the 650. Started loading 40 for both guns. What was you finally got a custom gun built at that point, probably by then, right?
Yeah. So I mean, the Brazos was a custom gun, even though I got it, secondhand. Although semi-custom because
right.
Bob builds all of his guns pretty much the same way, right? And the team, so the Rudy Project team at the time, we had just brought Bedell Custom on as a team sponsor.
Mm-hmm.
So I decided, you know what? Let me get a custom limited gun built. And it just so happened around that same time that Phoenix Trinity was doing this package deal. Right, because the Evo grip had been around for a year or two at that point, and they were making frames, of course, right? And they had this package deal. I think it was around the beginning of 2017. That was pretty good price. It's like $1,100 or something like that, and you would get an Evo grip, a long dust cover frame, and a slide. I think for that price, which is a decent deal. I mean. It wasn't mind blowing. It wasn't like they were selling it all to you for $500 or anything. But I'm like,
affordable.
Yeah, it was affordable to get the stuff. I just needed to find a gunsmith. So we brought on Bedell Custom, and he was sponsoring the team. So I called Dan Bedell. I was like, hey Dan, I've got this kit from Phoenix Trinity. He's like, yeah, I know those guys. I have no problem using their parts. Send me what you got, and we'll build you something out of it. And I'm like, cool. That's awesome. Ended up going with an island barrel, and so it's actually an infinity barrel and frame slide grip or whatever it was from Phoenix Trinity, and then I just let him choose all the internal action parts and stuff. So, you put the stuff in it you want to put in it. But yeah, at the time, and I think still, it's been a while since I've talked to Dan. But at the time, I think his turnaround time was one of the best in the industry also. From the time I sent him the down payment for that pistol and sent him the parts, um, to the time it was back at my door, I think it was like 4 months, which is pretty good. I mean,
Oh yeah,
you
really
try to
good.
you try to order an Infinity, right? You're waiting a year plus, right?
Yeah.
Not that Infinities are bad; they're great pistols, but you're waiting a long time, right?
Yeah.
I'm not sure about some of the other like newer newcomers to the arena, right? Like Masterpiece Arms, they're super popular now. Lots of great shooters shooting for them. I'm not sure what their wait time is or anything.
I want to say it's got to be 6 months now. I think last time I looked on the
That's not
website.
bad. That's
No,
not bad, honestly.
by the end of the season, you order a new, the season's over, you order a new one. It's there
Yeah,
by the time season starts back up.
yeah. Like honestly, end of the season for us is like October-ish usually, right? If I were to order a new pistol for the next year in October and have to be 6 months later, that's like May,
Mhm.
April, May. It's right at the beginning of the year. So I can use the gun that I'm going to use as my backup for a couple matches and then hit the ground running with a new one, right? That's not a bad turnaround time. But I had talked to a few guys at that time too. So I talked to like Pat Rafferty. I talked to him and said, "Hey, I want to get pricing and stuff from him because he was highly recommended from a bunch of people." It's before John Bleeger started shooting for him,
Yeah.
but he was still highly respected and builds amazing guns.
Have you seen his? So I mean, I know you're a social media stalker, but have you seen his latest stuff? That's like ooh shiny.
Oh, Rafferty's? Oh,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah, his stuff is beautiful. He puts a ton of just like care into the fit and finish of his pistols.
Hmm. I don't know how many people I've told this, but the first open guns I ever saw were Rafferty custom guns, like in
Yeah.
person. Like I went to my first USPSA match hour, and I was squatted with two people shooting open,
Mm-hmm.
and they both had Pat Rafferty guns, and they're like,
Yeah.
"Man, these are pretty." But they were in the
But
white. They were, I guess I could call them. They were stainless guns, so I don't know if they were chromed or whatever, but
yeah,
they were they're still nice.
yeah. So I think the first Rafferty gun I ever saw, I think, was Kurt Evans.
I don't know if I've met Kurt,
Yeah.
but
So Kurt used to shoot for the Phoenix Trinity team back in the day,
hmm
right? He's not been really shooting for a while. I at least haven't seen him in a bit. I don't know if he's on any locals or anything like that. But
right.
it was Kurt, and it was my first Buckeye Blast that I went to, which was 2016. Right,
Hmm.
well, it was in Pickaway County, like just south of Columbus, in Ohio, and I
Are they
went
still
there.
shooting there?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Um, but I went there, and it was kind of toward the end of the day. I was still hanging around. Right, he was on my squad. Right,
Hmm.
and he was kind of doing okay for most of the day, but this last stage, he just fucking sent it,
Yeah.
and yeah, it was pretty amazing. It just solidified for me that I wanted to shoot the sport a little bit more and get better.
Right.
Right. I've since kind of given up on the getting better part. I won't say that I've given up completely, but just life changes in that time frame, and things getting in the way, so to speak.
Right. Nothing wrong with that too, though. I mean, like
Yeah,
we are all of our desires change within this, right? It seems like there's always I want to learn to then I want to be better. I want to win, and then I just want to have
yeah.
fun.
Well, and even with that, like, so I'm in my 40s, right? So it's like I'm a guy in his 40s where you have these dudes coming up who are in their 20s still, right? Early 20s, early to mid 20s, right?
Hmm.
Like, um, really, really awesome dude, Joey Sauerland. I remember when that kid first started and he sucked, right? And
Hmm.
now look at him. He's winning freaking every area match and, top five at nationals, right?
Right.
So
It, hmm. and it's kind of cool because he's also a Ohio native.
he is.
You
Yeah.
weird Ohio people.
What makes us weird?
I mean, you have the weird thing that Toledo strip. I mean, that's all you got, and then
I mean, you tried to fight us for it at one point.
hey, we got a better. No, I don't think we got a better deal. That's honestly, in my opinion, Upper Peninsula. Welcome to Wisconsin.
Right. But No, I mean the whole Ohio Michigan thing is always interesting because you can get people from Michigan are like, oh, you're from Ohio, ew,
Well,
and
it's more funny is when I'm down at Buckeye, well, not Buckeye, but Cardinal Shooting Center, and Dan and Corey are like OHIO and all this crap, and I'll join in. Ken's like, "What are you talking about?" I'm like, "We're in their state. I don't want to get shot."
nah, man, you know what a Buckeye is, right?
Yeah, the silly, yeah, the wait,
It's a
the dessert or the tree nut
no,
thing.
dude, it's a useless nut. I mean,
Yeah, I mean, at least the dessert's handy. Like that's useful to me.
true. I mean, peanut butter and chocolate,
Hmm.
good stuff, right? But yeah, so a little bit more progression on my shooting. I at this point, most people will probably know that I kind of division hop a little bit.
Hmm.
Um, but I think 2019, I started shooting open. All right,
Hmm.
and at that time, Staccato. It was still STI at the time, but Staccato became a sponsor of the team I was on, and I ended up getting a DVC Open for pretty good price.
Hmm.
And started shooting open, shooting 9 major. Shot my first open nationals that year. Wasn't my first nationals. My first nationals was 2018 when they did the 9 days.
Oh, I'm sorry. Oh.
I didn't do all 9 days. I only went as a competitor, and I just shot limited. And it was a good time.
And that was what?
That was a frost proof in Florida.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And then 2019, I went and I shot open, and it was a back to back out in Utah. So it was like open and PCC, and then I forget what the other two divisions were, like maybe limited and carry optics or something like that for the other match.
Yeah, I want to think because I was when I was first like watching the sport, so
Yeah,
I believe that's right.
yeah, because carry optics was still really new. Also, it didn't garner enough attention, or it wasn't as popular as it is now, so it didn't get its own nationals. But yeah, I think that's what it was. It was like open PCC, and then um, limited and carry
See,
optics for the other one, and then they did like a best of the rest nationals someplace else. I think maybe Bama or something like that. They did.
no, I do remember that. That was down at Frostproof again, so that was like the rest of
That's
them.
right. Yeah. It was done at Frostproof again because in 2020 they did another one at Frostproof.
Hmm.
That was kind of a shit show,
Yeah.
from what I recall. I didn't either shoot or work that one, but other than 2020, I've been to a nationals as either competitor or staff every year since 2018.
Hmm.
Um, Spent a lot of time in Alabama.
Yeah. Well, you're gonna spend a lot more time in Alabama still.
Well, I mean, so my plan for this year is actually, if I do go to a nationals, I'm only going to go as a competitor, and if I do that, it's probably going to be carry optics nets.
That's like that's surprising to hear that because
Yeah,
it's home state. Like it's not that far.
well, that's why, right?
Hmm.
So this year I've made promises to my darling bride, and using
Hmm.
the words of Steve Anderson, I've made promises to my darling bride that we will go someplace nice this year for an actual vacation that's not in the United States.
Oh, I think we've talked about this privately,
Yeah,
haven't we? Oh, yeah,
yeah,
that's gonna be nice. That's gonna be
yeah.
nice.
And I do kind of owe her because I've been spending a lot of time away from home between shooting and work.
Yeah.
Because
Well,
I'm on the road, during the summer more often than not, just because of what I do for a living, and that's when all the matches are, right? So
yeah, exactly. Yeah, it doesn't help sometimes. But where was I going with this? Oh, so you've division hopped. I know this 2023 you shot what carry optics, limited optics, single stack. You even shot a match in open division against
yeah,
us.
yeah. So I shot single stack most of the year,
Hmm.
right? Um, my plan was to shoot it at iron sight nets. I mean handgun nets, whatever you want to call it.
Hmm.
Um, I ended up not. I ended up shooting limited instead of single stack, just because I was like, I don't have time to devote to do this.
Hmm.
Hindsight being 2020, I probably just should have still shot single stack. But yeah, so single stack most of the year, and then like you said, carry optics because I was at CO Nats.
Hmm.
I only shot like 3 matches in carry optics, including CO Nats.
Yeah, because I want to. Yeah, and then you shot limited optics with your fancy lead.
Yeah, so limited optics was really kind of to try it. You know, I had picked up a Sig 226X5, and I was like, this could be fun. So I tried it out. I think I shot Area 5 in limited optics instead of carry optics.
Yeah,
And
or Kentucky? No, because
no, Kentucky also. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. And then shot that one match with you in open. So yeah, this year I shot like 5 divisions.
Yeah, and all of it was fun, right? I mean,
But yeah, I mean that's the whole point, right? I mean, I'm not. If I practiced, I could probably get really good and probably get my GM card if I wanted to. But yeah, it's for me at this point. It's all about the fun and making sure that we continue to have a sport.
right, absolutely. I mean, that's kind of why we do it. We love to give back, but I think the cool part is you give back to the sport and you staff a match. You still get to hang out with your friends and make better memories because the talking after a day's worth of shooting in the parking lot is the best reward anyone can have.
Well, let's be fair. It's not talking. It's sitting down in the chairs that we brought with us with the chosen bottle of whatever liquor we decided to bring with us, getting drunk.
Yeah, some people
maybe smoking a stogie.
Some people get more drunk than others.
True, that's very true.
But everyone's been responsible. No one's. I haven't. At least I haven't experienced anyone being like sloshy drunk, like absolutely shit faced.
No,
because they know they got to get up in the morning, drink coffee, and go officiate.
I've seen some individuals who've been questionable, right? And maybe they went to the match the next day still drunk, or at the very least really hungover, right?
Yeah.
But I've certainly staffed a match still hungover. It sucks.
Yeah. I can imagine that. Especially it gets hot, there's no breeze, and then you're just like, everything inside you's just like, oh my God, this is horrible.
Yeah. And I always promise myself, hey, I'm going to take it easy. I'm going to take it easy. And then I got friends who like shove really good bourbon in my face. I'm like, here, you like this, don't you? And I'm like, yes, I do. I'm going to drink that. Right.
Well, I mean, even like we went to Kentucky this year. I mean, the cooler's full of beverages.
Mm-hmm.
It's like,
yeah.
We get indulged down in Kentucky.
We do. That's a special place too, man. Bluegrass Sportsman's League is a special club for me, especially because that's where I went to my very first USPSA major match.
Oh yeah,
yeah. So back in the day, this is probably before your time. We had this little match called Battle in the Bluegrass. It was started by Corey Estel and a couple other folks down there, right? And it was a single stack and production only match. So it was right up my alley when I first started. I'm like, yeah, single stack only, perfect. Right? I went down and I realized how bad I sucked. Yeah.
It's usually how it goes, right? You just then you get you're either good at your locals and then you get your shit kicked. Well, back in the day, were there more single stack shooters at a local match?
Several. Not very many. I mean, it's declined in the last few years, but at the same time, it was never insanely popular. Most people would choose to shoot like before carry optics. You had a lot of open shooters, a fair number of limited shooters, and a lot of production shooters. Right. So most people, if they were going to shoot like a low cap division, they would shoot production.
Right, because most people already have those guns. They just have to get more magazines.
Right. Yeah, it's really easy to get into production, and that's to be honest, it's where a lot of the heat was. Right. So that's guys like Alex Goot when he was still shooting. Right. He won nationals in 1 year in production. That's what like Ben Steger built his whole career on, was shooting production. Right. So lots of great production shooters out there. Even today, still there's lots of really good dudes out there. Like Brandon Decker. Speaking of Kentucky, Brandon Decker, that dude is amazing with a production gun.
Besides the fact that he's good with the production gun, the crap that he will give to his brother and Rick is hilarious. Those three on a squad is the best. I will say, not that I don't like seeing the Decker brothers. I appreciate seeing Rick out there.
Yeah.
Because he's the old guy who's got, he's gotten him in the sport, and he takes their crap and he's like, I'm too old for this crap. I don't know why I keep doing this. Yeah. And then he keeps showing back up.
Well, it's because he's just like the rest of us, right? He loves the sport. He loves, getting out there and doing it. It doesn't really matter. I mean, it does, maybe to some people it matters, where you finish, right?
Mm-hmm.
But for the vast majority of us, we're out there to have fun. We're out there to hang out with friends, right? We're
Yeah.
trying to, enjoy our free time in a way that we want to, right?
Right. Well, and like, you and I both probably can agree to this. Most of our friends, that we have are from this sport. Like, we don't have many friends outside of this that
Yeah.
aren't attached to our significant others.
Yeah, I mean, there's that, and there's the occasional friend who was from outside the sport who you brought into the sport too, right?
Mm-hmm.
So like Clay is a perfect example. I've known that guy since I was a teenager. We went to high school together, right? And when I started shooting this, it was several years before he decided, you know what, I'm going to give it a try too. He came out, he freaking loves it too. Right.
Mm-hmm.
He's at the point now where I was back in like 2017, 2018, where he's just like trying to find the best gear, and it's an arms race and all that kind of stuff. I keep trying to tell him, just because of the experience I have, it's different from him. Like, you can't make it an arms race, man. It's not about the arrow.
Right.
It's really about the Indian. So he's like, yeah, we need to get out and practice. I'm like, we really do. But when? Right? Just because schedules.
Right, yeah. Schedules are harder and harder to deal with, and,
Yeah, I mean, and that's especially true for me, too, since, like, 2019 timeframe, right? So in 2019, I made a big career change. And for the better for me, which is great. But, I made a pretty significant career change, and my free time isn't as free as it was. So it's not really a normal 9 to 5 like a lot of people still have, where it's Monday through Friday, 9 to 5. They either work from home or go to the same office. They can stick to a pretty steady schedule and be really consistent. I travel for work a fair amount, so things are inconsistent for me. So that's why I mentioned the dry fire decals, right? When I'm not having to get on a plane, because it's just a pain in the butt to fly with guns. I mean, I've done it, but it's still a pain in the butt. But when I'm driving, I'll take my gun with me and dry fire decals, and I'll dry fire in my hotel room, right?
Right.
And it makes it super, super easy to do that. So get your dry fire decals from, our good friends at Go Fast Don't Suck.
Yeah. Well, Bill's a good dude, and I don't even have to push him that hard.
Yeah, he's a good dude.
He is a good dude, even though he shaved his goatee off, and he's got
he does that every once in a while.
He has the double crease though. It's like
Yeah.
you know how he's got the forehead crease. He's got one down here. I still don't like to imagine him without the goatee, but that's beside the point. Bill, I do love you, bro fist. But but I just got to put out there the bro fist part. But anyway, no, and I mean, but like we said here in a little bit is the fact that responsibilities, life changes, yet we still fall that we can volunteer and have time for the sport.
Yep.
You at what point did you actually get into ROing or officiating like level 2 matches?
So level 2 matches, probably like 2017, 2018. That's when I started ROing my first majors. So I became a certified range officer in 2017.
Mm-hmm.
Did it mostly to help out at locals because we didn't have a significant RO crew here in Southern Ohio at the time. There was the normal folks who are still around today, right? But we always need more, right? So I was like, yeah, I'll go take an RO course. At the very least, if I don't ever RO a major match, it'll help me learn the rules better. And it did, right?
It does.
And started ROing at majors, probably I think 2018-ish. I want to say, yeah, because Paul Hernandez was harassing me at 9 Days of Nats. He was harassing me to volunteer to work nationals, right? And I did that for the first time in 2019. So yeah, I started working level 2s and a couple of level 3s, I think, maybe area 5 in like the 2017, 2018 timeframe. Not this past year or 2022 when area 5 was in Michigan at Brooklyn, but the time before that, the last time it was in Michigan at Brooklyn.
Yep.
I didn't work it the first year, but I did the second year.
Yeah, so I think
right?
that's Oh, I don't say that was 2018.
I think it was 2018. Yeah. So I did, of course, Buckeye Blast because it's my state championship. The stuff down in Kentucky at Bluegrass because it's still pretty close to home, and Area 5. And then I worked my first nationals in 2019. And like I mentioned earlier, I've worked a nationals, except for in 2020, I've worked at least one nationals every year, if not multiples. So like this year, I worked both carry optics nats and handgun nats, both the ones that were Cardinal.
Right.
Went to Alabama twice last year.
Yeah.
Went to Alabama at least once the year before, if not twice. I don't remember.
Yeah.
I've worked so many matches. I mean, I could probably pull up my RO record because I keep track of it all. Because we have the app to do it on USPSA site, right? So you can keep track of all your work record. You can put in everything except for nationals. So you can put in level 2s, level 3s.
So wait, someone else has to put nationals in for you?
Well, so they track that at the NROI level, right?
Oh.
So Troy takes care of it, from what I understand, since they have the whole form system to apply to work at nationals, right? So you go fill out a form, and there's information and all that kind of stuff, and they have their selection process, which is a secret to me, which is fine. But yeah, they keep track of the people who've worked nationals, the people they want to come back, the people they don't want to come back, mainly because the primary goal for, at least for me, and this is what they've said to staff at nationals, every year I've been, is we want the best range officers here, people who can take care of the match, run things the most efficiently, and of course mistakes do happen, but yeah, most of the people who I've ever worked with at a national level match have been excellent.
Right. Except that guy named Ken Lane. No, just
no,
Ken. I just got to bust Ken's balls.
No, don't do that to him, man. Because Ken is an amazing RO.
Oh,
he's really good at it.
Yeah, he's really good, and I love busting my friend's ball. We talk almost every day. It's always good. He knows I love him, just in that weird kind of brotherly way. No, just no, and honestly it's cool because you get to meet a lot of people. You get to see all the good shooters, I guess you'd call them, because they're not silly enough to work a nationals match or,
Well, they got different things they're focusing on, right? So you take your what we call professional shooters, right? The people who are either shooting for a factory team like Glock or Springfield or SIG or whoever. Mm-hmm. They're there for a different reason, right? Because it's their job. Right, most of them are going to work for some part of the company that they represent, doing something, right? And it's their job to go to trade shows. It's their job to go shoot matches. It's their job to represent the company they work for in the best way they can, right? So they're there for a different reason than those of us who don't work in the industry, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then exactly. So. You mentioned Paul. Did Paul instruct your level 1?
Both my level 1 and level 2 RO courses, Paul did, and I became a CRO in 2019. Mm-hmm. Right, I actually did it right before I worked the nationals in Utah. I was a CRO officially, but I didn't work as a CRO at that nationals. I actually had the distinct pleasure of working with one of the range master instructors. Who was the CRO on the stage I was working, Evans Kuo. I don't know if you guys know Evans, but he's from Idaho, and he is a really, really awesome dude.
Is he still an RMI?
He is, yeah.
Okay, that's the first time I ever heard his name, so.
Yeah, well, he's another one of the guys out there that's got a career that kind of conflicts with some of the stuff he wants to do, because he's a firefighter, right?
Oh, yeah.
So, and I think like a Forest Service firefighter, so a guy who goes out and literally digs trenches to fight fires.
Yeah. And water's not an option because it's just too ridiculous.
Well, I mean, or they pick it up in giant buckets that they carry under planes or helicopters and dump it over acres and acres of land, right?
That is true. Yeah, no, I think we're very fortunate. At least in Area 5, there's 3 RMIs because we have Jay, Paul, and Gary.
Yep. Used to have 4 before Ray stepped down as an RMI. But
yep. Oh, yep. That is right. He is from. I forget he's from Illinois.
He's from Illinois. Yeah.
Sorry, the Illinois is a bad place. I don't like talking about
I mean,
it.
it is, but yeah, we are blessed to have as many range master instructors as we do.
You know what's
in
more
Area 5.
entertaining about having that many RMIs in our area when they come to the match, and then the after talks. You get the
Oh yeah, when we're sitting shooting the shit after each day of the match and
and they just
drinking
go at
whiskey.
each other. Yeah, they just go at each other because somebody's like they want to argue one opinion, and it's great because
So it's actually a favorite pastime of range masters and range master instructors to put that one question out there that's 100% gray area, right?
and let them argue it out.
And get everybody arguing about it.
Yeah.
I may or may not have contributed to some of those arguments here and there.
Yeah. Yeah. But it's nice because Paul doesn't get around very much anymore.
Yeah.
But he still gets lively in those conversations.
He does. He does because he might physically not be able to do as much as he once could, but he's still there mentally.
Mm-hmm. Well, and as you've always talked about, Jay Warden is like he'll forget more about Chrono than you will ever know about Chrono.
Oh, dude, he's forgotten more about Chrono than I know about being a range master. Right. Yeah. So, yeah. I was actually blessed to have him as my instructor too. So shout out to Jay Warden. He helped me through that program, and I don't talk to him very often, but every time I see him, I say hello and thank him and have a good discussion and go about my business.
Yeah. Speaking of Chrono, Sven built you your concoction table.
Yeah, man.
Are you going to stick with lab radars or are you going to switch to the Garmin's?
No, I'm sticking with lab. I've got 3 lab radars, man. Why would I switch to something else? I've got the money's already spent. Yeah. There's no reason to go get something else just because it exists.
Have you looked at or messed with the Garmin yet?
No, I haven't. But there was an NROI post, like a blog post about the differences in chronographs. I think that Jody put out there. I think it was. Where she kind of tells the differences between them and the variances between them. And the good thing is between the radar units, there's not that much of a variance. Actually, between all of them, there's not much of a variance. But the important thing to remember, though, about that is that every chronograph is different. Mm-hmm. All right, especially the old school ones like the CEDs and the competition electronics ones. There's wider variances between 2 models of the same brand with those older chronos than between brands of chrono nowadays.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm just surprised that they can fit a chronograph in that small of a package.
That's just because of how it works, right?
Yeah.
So using radar instead of the light sensors that they use in the CEDs, it fits in a relatively small space. You're not constrained by the needs of putting a chronograph in a box with infrared lights and all the other bullshit you got to do with it also, right? It's way more convenient for a chrono officer to set up using radar.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you do like to set up hula girls down at the
well, that was all Sven, man. He was like, yeah, let's get a little hula skirt and put it on the target we're going to shoot. I'm like, well, it's going to look like we're shooting a person. That's kind of crazy, dude. Mm-hmm. But what are you going to do? Foreigners.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, that German guy. But no, he did come up with a pretty cool idea. Do you sort of like the bullet collar puller?
So I tell you what, he has gotten really, really good with that. So if I'm ever working chrono at a match and Sven is the guy helping me pull bullets, I'll just let him go. Mm-hmm. He's got his method down and he's pretty quick.
Oh yeah, right? I want to think at Kentucky when you guys were running chrono. Did you? No, you ended up shooting with us as staff at Kentucky, didn't you?
Yeah, so I had 2 people helping me out at chrono at Kentucky. I had Jim Klugowitz, who's another range master, and I had Sven. So they handled staff day, and then I came in to be the chrono officer for the main match.
Right. And I want to say I remember my squad was the first one to chrono, and they had all the bullets already pulled.
Oh yeah. Yeah, they were done. I want to say the 2 days of the main match, so Saturday and Sunday at Kentucky this year, I want to say that when we got all of the chrono ammo, we easily had everything pulled before like the second squad got there.
It's got to it makes it easy. You don't have to. Although it's more funny. What was it between Jay and Paul? It's like, I'm the whacker. No, you're the shooter. I'm the whacker.
Right. Yeah. They
argue about who gets to do what. It's kind of fun. Yeah. It's like, that's my job. Leave me be.
Yeah. Well, and that's the other thing when you have RMIs as your chrono crew. Usually, I'd say 99.999% of the time, it runs like a top, right? Mm-hmm. Every once in a while, you run into something crazy, but that's what chronograph is for anyway. That's where all the crazy stuff happens.
Yeah, so. I do remember the questions about at from Area 5 about the competitors' ammo that was not safe to shoot.
Yeah, that ended up in a blog post on NROI blog too, right?
How did I miss that one? Damn.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think were we squatted together on that match?
We worked together.
We worked together. Yeah,
because we were awesome.
Well, yeah.
After we figured our crap out about how we going to turn these bays any faster, it didn't help. We had the biggest, largest bay, all the targets out there, and we were like, we're good at our jobs. Why is this taking so long?
Yeah, then it finally clicked and we figured it out. Oh yeah, let's freaking split score this thing, right?
Well, yeah, we figured out how to score it. We figured out how to just reset the activator so it's already done. And
yep, like don't let the competitors touch it because it'll just take longer, right? It's not that we don't trust them to do it right. It's just that it was quicker if we did it.
Yeah. Well, and I felt terrible because, the second squad of the day at Area 5, at least this year, was it was Jake Martin's crew. And I'm like, God, we can't look that bad in front of him. I mean, he's already going to pick on me for some reason, but it's usually just me. I don't need to be picked on because I'm slow.
Right. And, I was still a freshly minted range master at the time too, right? So it's like, yeah, come on, you're an RM. You should know how to do this.
Right. Well, you also, on that squad that rolled through, I think Daniel Hart, he's now a
he's an RM. Yeah, he's an RM.
Yep. Yeah, I remember my first ever major I worked was Ryan Rock's 2021.
Well, when Daniel was doing his ride along with Gary. Yeah.
Yeah. And it was raining like an SOB on the last day.
Oh yeah, it was.
And I was in the bowl. I was in Bay 6 in the shoot house.
Oh yeah, you were in Bay 6 in the shoot house. That's the worst one there, like by far.
The best part was we only had to bag 4 targets. But
yeah, because the rest were all inside.
Yeah, it was great, but the rest of it was like, oh, this is gonna suck.
Yeah, and the mud. Oh.
Well, I mean, just imagine. I mean, I think we had to try to catch Papa Joe before he took a tumble coming down.
That's like every match, right?
Well, I mean, it was bad. I mean, that was the first time I met Andrew in person. I met his soon-to-be bride, Christy.
Yeah.
And that bait has no room at all, really. Like the tables
it's tiny.
up more. Yeah,
it's tiny. Yeah, you have to tell people you need to stay over there, otherwise you're gonna get shot, right? And we really don't want anybody to get shot.
Yeah, especially when you got a 12-man squad and you're all hiding under canopies.
Right. Yeah, I think you can barely even fit a canopy down in that bed.
I think we fit 2, but it was cockeyed and one was like up in the hill. But here nor there. I mean, that was actually, I think that was probably one of the better experiences. Like, if I had to pick a match to decide to work, like my first match to work, that was a pretty good one. It wasn't, it was only 8 stages, so it wasn't terrible. Stages weren't awfully complex, but it was still a good learning experience. Like, because my first CRO was Bill Chun.
Oh, Bill's great.
Yeah, he left us far too soon, but
yeah,
I couldn't believe it when I talked to Jeffrey, and then the next day I was like, yeah, I got some bad news for you. I'm like, oh, that fucking sucks.
Yeah, it does. And whenever we lose somebody who has been in the sport for a while and has been helping us out, it's always really sad, right?
Yeah,
it was the same thing back when PCC first started. We had PCC matches down in Sellersburg, Indiana. Mm-hmm. And I think it was the first year. It was either the first or the second year. I don't remember. But Craig Tsukiyama, also another great RO. He actually passed away on the range. Had a heart attack while he was there. We shut the range down. And Jeffrey was there. Jeff was working on and giving him CPR and stuff. It was crazy.
Yeah. Well, and then we lost. Right at what was it? Open PCC Nationals. No, it was Open Limited Nationals between those two matches, and then Carry Optics PCC.
Well, yeah, we
Before
lost
Bob passed.
Bob. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that guy was. He wasn't. He didn't talk too much, but when you got him talking and telling stories, man, he would not shut up.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Oh yeah. I mean, I still could probably imagine where Bob would go toe to toe with Paul's cane. Bob would have his stick. He'd have his yardstick.
Yeah.
I could just imagine them two freaking lightsaber dueling under the cane.
Yeah, and Bob Cliff, rest in peace, man. He would sit on a freaking bucket at Chrono, right?
Yep.
Like that's kind of one of the things he was known for. Was just he's the Chrono guy who sits on a bucket, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because yeah, and and you get good stories, and you talk to them, and everybody knew who Bob and Marsha are.
Yeah,
it's like
and Marsha's still working matches.
Yep.
So she I think is coming back for Buckeye in Area 5 for sure.
Yeah. Well, when you got your Jay Warden, but I mean, remember Bob and Jay used to drive around together, and then eventually Marsha showed up, and they're like, "Well, what are we gonna do?"
yeah, and she's an excellent RO too. She's a freaking amazing RO and CRO, right? Can keep up with, put her on pretty much any stage, and she'll keep up with it, right?
Oh, absolutely. So Brad, you as you mentioned, you're a freshly minted range master. What this year, correct?
About a year and a half now.
Because it was 2022 Carry Optics Nationals.
Yep.
Everything, dude. Everything is like
it's a blur.
Together. Yeah. But if you could give any advice to any person who's a new range official, what would it be?
Be consistent, right? And don't be a dick. I mean, I know that gets said a lot, right? Especially by RMs who are running matches, but really don't be a dick. There's no reason to go out there and have any kind of conflict with anybody on the range, whether it's a staff member for the match or a competitor, right? We're all there for the same reason, to keep the sport going, to have a good time, right? Some of us are volunteering our time to make sure the match happens. So just stay out of conflict with people. Refer to the rule book. Like if there's a question about a call that's been made and it's something that you can look up at the rules, look it up, right? We have the rule book for a reason, right? And if you're still not sure, that's what we have range masters for, right? So defer to range master, defer to your CRO and then your range master, right? Say, hey, I'm not sure about this. Let's ask the CRO. If the CRO is not sure, then ask the range master. And then the competitors as well, they can always ask also. I mean, it'd be nice if they were always polite. We know that some guys aren't. But it's a good start for the range officials to be the ones who stay polite and stay, have a good attitude, right? Because if you can stay that way, then the competitors are more likely to stay that way.
Right. Now, speaking of that, have you, without divulging any names, what has been your worst experience as a range official with a competitor?
My worst experience? There haven't really been too terribly many bad ones, I'll say. I mean, there's been some questionable stuff that's happened, right? There's been a couple situations where it's like, typical, like 180 break or, accidental discharge or something like that, where the competitor's like, there's no way, right? That's how it happened. And the key there is just being 100% certain. If you're not sure about the call you made, if you have any kind of doubt whatsoever, don't make the call, right? Because that's not right. Because if you have doubt, that means there's doubt that could end up going to an arbitration committee, right? And a good ARB committee, which should be made up of people who are range officials but not staff at the match, they'll see that and they'll they'll do the right thing. Hopefully, they'll do the right thing.
Right.
That's actually one thing that I've never had to do is sit on an ARB committee. But I guarantee the first time I go to a match as just a competitor and there's an arbitration, whoever the range master is going to be like, hey, I need you for an ARB committee. I know it.
Mm-hmm.
But I would say there's never been a really, really bad situation for me. I've had a couple of situations where things have got slightly heated, but not to the point where I would say that any of the individuals involved weren't justified in their emotional response to the situation.
Right.
Right. And part of that is due to just how I carry myself, or at least try to carry myself on the range, which is that whole mantra of don't be a dick, stay polite, refer to the rule book. We have it for a reason. I'm here to officiate. I'm not here to make favorites or anything like that. We have this thing to refer to. Let's refer to it. And if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. Right. And I'll gladly say, I'm sorry, I was wrong.
Right. Well, it's better to be, I'm sorry, I was wrong. Let's get you a reshoot.
Yeah. I mean, if it warrants a reshoot, right? Because we have a lot of that stuff in the rules too, right?
Yeah.
So,
well, it's like, let's get you, I was wrong. Let's get you back in the, that's
let's
always the
do
worst
the right
case.
thing.
Yeah, we'll get you. You might get somebody mad at you for making the wrong call initially, but hopefully they'll mood up. Whenever I've had to make a difficult call, it seems like I still had to, the squad gets really grumpy, but the rest of the squad gets really grumpy with you too. And it's like, and then you got all the eyes on you.
Well, I mean, think about that if we were to go to a match together, like me, you, and Fluffy, and Wes, and whoever else. We were to go to a match and all be squatted together, and something happened that one of our friends was affected by. How are we going to react? Right? We're not going to like it. We're going to be supporting our friend.
Right.
Right. And that's what happens with squads at every match. They're trying to support their buddy who they've been shooting with all day or all weekend or whatever. Right. So, the same thing applies at that point. As a range official, you stay polite, right? You refer to the rule book. You make the right call. If you didn't make the right call, hopefully there's somebody who is at the right level of the match as a CRO or the range master to correct you and make the right call. And, that's when you have to kind of take your lumps and admit to yourself and to maybe the competitor that, hey, I made a bad call there. Let's do the right thing. Mm-hmm. That's if you realize you made a bad call then, right? Sometimes it's too late, right? Yeah. Those are the worst situations, right? If a bad call was made and it's too late to change it, right? Then that's when I would say if that were to happen to me, I would probably try to reach out to that person after the match and still say something.
Right.
Right. Because in order for the sport to continue, we have to have people who are on the same page.
Right. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. We always got to be, yeah. And if even that, you can own up to your mistake, right? If you did make the right call, you own up to it,
yeah.
Apologize, tell this, you can only do what you can do, right? Somebody could always hold a grudge forever, but
the key point is we're human, right? And humans make mistakes. We're not perfect, right? Mm-hmm. So that's how it's going to be. But in terms of the sport and just firearms in general, right? I know that a lot of people feel as if we're under attack from a politics perspective that I won't go into. Mm-hmm. I would just say that we need to be on the same side, right? Because we're all here for the same thing. We should be trying to support each other and making things good all around. So we aren't turned into the criminals or evil people that some would want you to believe we are.
Oh, yeah, exactly. Yeah. We always got to be on the same side. We got to help each other out and support each other. That's for sure. Yep. But, Brad, you mentioned, I don't know if it was while we were recording or in the pre-show, you said you're working 4 majors this coming 2024.
Yeah, that's what's in the plans right now. It's a little light compared to what I normally do. So 3 of those I'm going to be the range master at. So it'll be Buckeye Blast, the Kentucky Sectional or Kentucky State Championship, whichever it is this year, and Area 5. I'm going to be a range master at all three of those. And then Ryan Rocks, whenever they can decide when it's going to happen and where it's going to happen. Something I told Jeffrey when I first became friends with him was, if you have your match, I will be there every year. Mainly because I believe so much in the cause that Ryan Rocks helps support, right? Getting, kids who are terminally ill with a disease like cancer out and away from, the kind of sterile environments of a hospital to have some fun so they can have, some good memories, so their families can have a good memory of those times that aren't just doctors and poking and prodding and everything else, I think is a really, really admirable thing that Ryan Rocks does.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's a great charity, a great cause. Bob and Kristen and Jeff and everyone
Yeah.
there at the Ryan Rocks Outdoor Adventures.
Yep.
I mean, we call it is the Ryan Rocks Charity Blast, the event. Ryan Rocks Outdoor Adventures is the charity.
Yep.
Great individuals to deal with. I saw Bob from the day of this. I saw him yesterday. As soon as we get his gun and ammo figured out, he'll be off to the races. But
is he having issues with that Masterpiece Arms gun he's got?
maybe not. Yeah. I don't know. I don't necessarily
It's an ammo
know if it's
problem.
I don't know if it's. Yeah, it might be a little bit of both, right? Because
Yeah. Well, I mean, he's loading his ammo on my old machine, so.
You didn't set it up. You didn't leave it all set up, ready, pretty for him.
Heck no, dude. That thing probably needed to be sent back to Dylan to get a once over.
Right.
But yeah.
I love that. You were like, I'm great, Bob. Like, I got money in my pocket. I am good.
No, I mean, if he needs help with it, I'll gladly help him out. Right. I'm in Michigan enough that I could probably stop up and help him with it.
I mean, he only lives in like over there in the Motor Cities, so.
Yeah. I'm in Detroit plenty. So.
Yeah. Now, what else ago? So, no, I agree. I'll be at all those matches as well. I think what's the other one? Oh, the Michigan section. That's sometime in July this year. Well, I say it's this year, but when this actually airs, it'll be this year, which is the best part about it.
You're not putting this on until January, huh?
Well, hey, when I'm prepared, I'm prepared. Like I've got it.
All right.
I've got this show I'm recording, and then it's nothing until after Christmas. That's the goal right there, is be able to be like
take some time off and actually relax a little bit, enjoy the holidays.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I get to do that, but I still do my live stream with Corey every week, so what it is. But
I need to get on that with you guys at one of these times.
Oh yeah, expect early sometime in probably when more details are ironed out about Buckeye, we'll do a live about it. And
yeah,
I mean, the live is really all Corey's idea. It's just using my platform as the base, so it definitely helps.
Right. Yeah, So, yeah, and since Corey and I are, both basically running that match, him as the match director, and then me as one of the range masters. That is assuming he doesn't get into the range master program, right? Because that could change, right? Because I think he applied, so we'll see.
Yeah, they've got till end of January to assign him a.
Yep. Yeah, that's usually when they send them out. Is right when all your tax forms are due at your house.
Yeah. Get it done, right?
Yep.
But what else was there? Your first match that you were the RM of the Soul, well, I guess not Soul RM, but RM of record, that was Area 6, wasn't it?
So I was an assistant range master at Area 6 in 22, right? I was not a solo RM, but I was one of the range masters at Area 6 this year in 23. The first one that I was a solo range master at was the Kentucky Lowcat Classic this year.
Right, and that was a interesting match because it was also staff reset. And
never again.
Yeah. No, I mean, at least, but then we did staff reset a couple weeks later at Buckeye, right?
Yep.
Night and day
never
difference.
Again.
It still was probably night and day differences compared to
So
Lowcat.
I don't know all the details of how they ever pulled off staff reset at Area 6 down in Rowan in North Carolina, but it went great at Area 6. But when we did it at both Kentucky low cap and Buckeye this year. We just couldn't get it right. And I think the main thing, if you just look, the main thing is the amount of staff that we had at those matches, right? Because at Area 6, they had like 6 or 7, maybe 8 people on each stage, right? And some people were ROs, some people were just helpers, right?
Mm-hmm.
So like the Marine team, the guys from Quantico that go to matches together, right?
Mm-hmm.
They were all on one stage with Jim Klugowitz, right?
Kluge.
Yeah. So I mean, he was the CRO, and those guys were doing their thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it went really well. But I think for me, it's difficult to find enough people to do a staff reset match, have the match break even or turn a profit,
Mm-hmm.
right? And still be able to have a decent prize table or random draw, and maybe some, and a staff banquet and things for the ROs,
Right.
right?
So speaking of that, your time in the sport, you've probably seen it more go to random draw more than
Yeah.
any, because it used to be prize table by finish, right?
Yep. Yeah. So nationals is still prize table by finish, right? At least everyone I've been to has been prize table by finish. They do the actual award winners first, and then they go down the list, right?
Mm-hmm.
I saw a couple of those at level 2s and level 3s, maybe.
Probably adds a lot of time after the match to getting
It,
out of
it
it.
does if there's like an awards bank or whatever. It does add some time after the match, but for the most part, at least all the matches I've been to have all been random draw, right? Um, and I've been lucky in some of those random draws, right? So like in 2017, back when CK Arms was still CK Arms, before they sold all the equipment and stuff to Masterpiece, um, they were giving away a CK Arms limited gun
Mm-hmm.
as the match gun at Buckeye in 2017. Well, I walk into registration the day before staff day because I was staffing the match,
Mm-hmm.
and Sarge, hands me the thing and says, "Congratulations, you won the gun." I'm like, "Holy shit!" Right? Um, so yeah, I've been lucky at a couple of those. That's probably the biggest one that I was lucky at. But
Right.
yeah, I mean, random draw is cool. I understand though the kind of thoughts of people who put their heart and soul into the sport and try to perform at the top, and they end up getting a bottle of hoppies. Right? I understand the disappointment.
Oh yeah, I mean
Right?
I could too, right? You go, you try to perform your best. You might win your class or division, and then I got this T-shirt.
I got this T-shirt and a koozie. Yay! Right?
Mm-hmm.
So the match management and match kind of economics, right? They come into play a lot,
Mm-hmm.
right? You know when you have a match director who has put together a really good match when they do the prizes in a way that makes a lot of sense. So
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you recall how we did it at Buckeye this year, right?
Oh yeah.
So there was the staff side,
Mm-hmm.
right? So that was all kind of random draw, pull out of a hat for staff, right?
Right.
And everybody on staff got something, which I support, because without the staff people who are ROs, quartermaster, Mr. Fix It, all the people there helping run the match, it just doesn't happen,
Oh yeah.
right? But the way they did prizes for competitors is they set aside prizes for every squad, right? And they kind of randomized them on a list and all this kind of stuff. And they went to every single squad and they did like a random draw out of a hat for each squad, which was cool. And of course, some guys got the gun cover, right? And some guys got the Hunter's HT Gold certificates, right?
Mm-hmm.
Hi, Brian.
Hi, Brian.
And some people got whatever else they got. I know they gave away a whole bunch of timers, those Shooters Global timers, which I have here, by the way. I have mine right here,
Yep.
right? Which
You gonna order the new one?
no,
Okay.
No, this is a really good timer. I just want Practice Score to fix their stuff, so this works with Practice Score, right? Other than that, this is probably the best timer I've ever used for dry fire.
Mm-hmm. After you
Right?
got it programmed, right?
I mean, yeah, it didn't really have to program too terribly much. Setting up all the drills for dry fire, you do on your phone,
Mm-hmm.
right? And then it's just via Bluetooth. Um, so yeah, probably the best timer I've ever used for dry fire. Mainly because if I'm traveling for work and I'm in some hotel, someplace where you don't know who's around, you don't know what the demographic is, that sort of thing. You don't really want to start making loud beep sounds in your hotel room. People are going to wonder what the heck is going on. This is quiet enough that the sound's not going to escape your room.
Right. You turn the TV on in the background, no one's ever going to hear anything.
You don't even have to do that.
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
that's always my thing if I got a dry fire in the hotel room.
Yeah.
Even if I'm going to a match, right? It's the night before, I'm dry firing. I'll turn the TV on just so no, you're just gonna hear the TV in the hallway. So
Yeah. Yeah. Just turn the TV up really loud.
mm-hmm. Yeah, make sure, but you got to make sure your room is right next to the Palmers, and that they know that you're next door. And they get dirt. I will say I love seeing Tom and Debbie because I did do a good senior citizen deed for them the last time I saw them at a match. I did carry their bags upstairs for them because there was no elevator at the Brooklyn Hotel.
Oh, right. Yeah. It's just stairs.
Yeah,
Right.
I mean
That's
it's not
probably
the
the worst
longest
part
flight
about
of
that
stairs,
hotel.
but it's like they had I want to think between Tom and Debbie they had like 15 bags.
Yeah.
But it's okay. They had good snacks.
It's fine. Yeah. So they probably do things similar to how I do it, right? I don't leave anything in my vehicle,
Right. No, I wouldn't either. Yeah.
right? As we learned at Buckeye this year,
Yeah.
right? With several people having their vehicles broken into.
And it wasn't like the match hotel was targeted. I guess from what I was hearing is it's been happening. It happened a lot in the Polaris area, different hotels. So.
Yeah, it happens a lot there. I mean, it's Columbus area. It's not a bad part of town
Mm-hmm.
at all. It's actually really kind of upscale part of the Columbus area. But um, to me, and I'm not an expert in this, but this is just what I think. All those hotels are right by the highway.
Mm-hmm.
So the people who want to go break into a vehicle and steal something, they can get in, they can do what they're going to do and destroy some property, steal some stuff, and then get out and be gone. Right?
Yep. Nothing. They don't ever have to worry about anything. They're just zip zap and gone.
Yep.
You get back on the highway and you're gone. But
Yep.
as we mentioned before, I kind of sidetracked us. You said never again on staff reset, and about
Yep.
getting people, turning a profit on the match. I mean, because you think about it, at minimum, Buckeye we had 75 staff, which
Yeah.
is 3 times. Well, I wouldn't say 3 times, about twice as many as you would normally have at a competitor pasted rematch, match.
Yeah.
Which
Well,
that's a lot of
it's not that many more, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if you just do the math, like let's say it's a 10-stage match, just because nice round number, right?
Right.
And you get your ideal of 4 ROs per stage.
Mm-hmm.
All right, that's 40 ROs. Plus, you have to have all of your other match staff, right? You have to have your range master. You have to have your match director, who may or may not be shooting with competitors, and your match director, who should not be running a timer.
Mm-hmm.
There's reasons for that. We can talk about here in a minute if you want. But then you have to have your quartermaster, your Mr. Fixed guy. Maybe it's the same guy. If you're good to your staff, you're going to have snacks, right? And people going out. You're going to have your stats guys, right? So you're looking at probably 55 to 60 people for a 10-stage match if you have ideal numbers of ROs on every stage.
Mm-hmm.
We had 75 to 80 at Buckeye for a 15-stage match trying to do staff reset. It's not that many more people. And I told the guys that I was like, you need to have like 6 or 7 people for every stage. And when you start talking about that number of people, the economics of the match start getting really funky,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because now you're, for most of your staff, you're probably paying for a hotel,
Mm-hmm.
right? You're going to be paying for some meals, right? It's definitely not a cheap endeavor. So, with the prices of things going up, also that's why we're seeing match fees go up a little bit. I mean, inflation is real, right? So, and hotel rooms are relatively inexpensive, but at the same time, they're not cheap if you're doing a a 4-day match, or like nationals is, at least 5 days of someone in a hotel, if not 6 or 7,
Mhm.
right? Plus setup crew, right? So if your setup crew comes out, they're going to be coming out for the week beforehand, and you're going to have to put them up if they're not local. So the economics start getting, pretty difficult to take care of, while also maintaining a price for the match that is reasonable for competitors and for the level of the match you're at, right? Because you can't charge $400 or $500 for competitors; they're not going to come out and shoot,
Oh no, absolutely no.
right?
Now if they're like, okay, my hotel's included in that, right?
Right? Yeah, yeah. I mean, if you give them a hotel room with that, then they'll be all over it. But the simple economics, it's simple math, right? They just don't work. Um, Plus whatever it costs to use the facility that you're at, right? Because I know Cardinal, they actually have to pay per head,
Mhm.
for competitors to
Yeah.
shoot there, because they don't own the range, right? They use the range. They use Cardinal Shooting Center. Cardinal Practical Shooters uses Cardinal Shooting Center, right?
Mhm.
Um, and they have a deal struck with the owners of Cardinal Shooting Center. Right?
Yep.
And it's like that everywhere, right? Most of the places that are going to have a facility that you can run a major match at, if they're not a privately held club that is like nonprofit or something like that, they're going to want to get something out of it.
Mhm. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's not going to be free. I mean, people got to sign contracts and all
Yep.
that. I mean, some places are very fortunate where the match makes more money because
Yeah.
they don't have to they don't have to pay a per head.
Yeah. Now imagine if we were doing something like paying staff,
Mhm.
right? Look at every other sport on the planet, right? The officials that take care of that sport are usually paid, right?
Yep.
Even being like a high school referee for football, they get paid,
Yep.
right? It might not be a lot, but they get paid,
Yeah.
right? Now, range officials at USPSA matches, we don't get paid. I mean, we get compensated, right, with a hotel room and some meals, maybe some per diem like they do for nationals, and a limited amount of expenses.
Mhm.
But it's not like you're going out and making money doing
Right. I mean, that's where we're highly compensated volunteers.
it, right? Um, I would say the compensation packages are okay, but I've never made money
Oh no, you still lose
for
money
matches.
if it's you have to take vacation, so it's time off work.
Hmm.
You got to travel on your own dime to get there. I mean, nationals is different. You can put it towards your your expense report.
Yeah,
And
but even with that, going down to Bama,
hmm
right? My mileage alone driving to Talladega and back
hmm
was all I ever had to put on an expense report. I maxed it out every time.
right, you'd get your money, and then you do or don't stay in a hotel room with somebody.
Right.
Um, I mean, and that's a double edged sword. It depends on if you know people who don't snore or if you snore, right?
Well, yeah, I mean that's something I've changed over the last couple of years too. So I always used to room with somebody because
hmm
I didn't really care, and I still don't really care about rooming with another person. Um, but either they'll keep me awake or I will keep them awake because I do snore.
hmm
And I want to be kind to the other range officials. And there are other people who I would room with, who I have roomed with, who also do snore.
hmm
And and when you go to a match the next day and you're exhausted because you didn't sleep,
hmm
that's that's just as bad as going hungover. And maybe it's both. Right?
Yeah. Now, yeah, I know for myself in 2024, I'm gonna go and talk to my primary physician and go see if I need to take a sleep study.
Yeah,
Like, I mean, there's a lot of us probably in the sport who eat one,
I,
need to lose
I
some weight,
probably should
and
do the
go
same
get a
thing.
sleep study.
I should probably do the same thing. I definitely need to lose weight. I mean, if I could lose like 100 pounds, that'd be awesome. Um,
Yeah. I mean, we just got to cut it easy on the shirashi, man, and the gyoza.
no way, man. Chirashi's good for you. All
I
it
mean,
is fish and rice, dude.
hmm I mean, yeah, that's true because the bowl's not that big. It's
No,
not like,
it's just fish and rice, and I never eat all the rice.
hmm
So if I could eat shirashi every meal, I'd probably lose a bunch of weight.
hmm I mean, you could just get. Would Brandy roll you sushi rolls though? That's sad.
No,
Could you do it? Would you do it every meal?
no,
No.
no. I'd get sick of it after probably a week.
Yeah. I will say I was in near Philadelphia last week for work, and I went to I picked this ramen place for everybody to go to,
Nice.
and I was happy because I was like, we're getting this appetizer or this appetizer and this one, and then I'm like, before you go, I need 2 orders of gyoza, please. Be like,
It was a
well, and they were like, do you want pork or vegetables? I'm like, why would you ask me that question? The answer is
pork.
pork.
Yeah.
At least
Yeah,
they didn't ask me the
real
silly.
gyoza, thank you.
Yeah, they didn't ask me, do you want it steamed or fried? I'm like, there's no question to this. You know how this goes.
Yeah, gyoza, fried, shumai, steamed.
Mm-hmm.
That's how it's supposed to go.
It is. That
It's
is how it's supposed to
just Brad's opinion, but
I mean,
that's how it should
you're
go.
one of those people. You know, I was okay with sushi, but I didn't really expand my horizon on sushi until like going out to dinner with you a couple times.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. You got to find the sushi places that are decent. You know where you go because there's not always going to be a good one.
Yeah, man. Sometimes it's a crapshoot. Like that's kind of like a tradition that I have with Corey and Dan at this point.
Mm-hmm.
We always find a sushi joint to go to. When we're in Columbus, like at Cardinal, we have the same one we go to because it's awesome, right? But like we tried to find a place when we were all down at Area 6 this year, and we got a recommendation from somebody because my family goes here all the time. They think it's great. We went, dude, hot garbage. It was trash.
Did you at least eat anything?
Yeah, I mean we ate. It wasn't inedible, but it was just not good.
Right.
It's one of those places like, okay, we went, we tried it, not coming back.
Well, it's just kind of like when we go down to Kentucky. We always got to go to the little place with the everyone wearing ties.
Yeah,
Except you don't go to the wrong one. You got to go to the correct one.
correct. Yeah.
That was Sarge's mistake this year.
Oh. Uh-oh.
Yeah. He was like, where am I going? But yeah, no, that is funny because his car, and the Palmer's car are almost identical.
Oh, yeah, those Forerunners they drive?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I do like your truck. Your truck is really nice, though.
Yeah, I mean,
It's roomy.
It is. It is very much so. But,
Is,
I drive that thing by myself to a lot of matches, and
mm-hmm.
it's like, man, I could always take people with me. So every now and then, if I'm going to a big match that I know a bunch of other people are going to, I'll be like, hey, you need me to schlep your stuff down? Like, do you need me to take your ammo? You need me to, like...
Don't forget the courier's fee, though, right?
Well, no, it's free. I wouldn't do that and charge somebody. That's silly. But yeah, I mean, that's just another part of trying to keep the sport good, right? Is to do things for friends and people who are in your area who might not have a better way, right? So, for instance, going to nationals, right? If it's in Utah or Florida or wherever, right? You're probably gonna fly, right? At least for us.
Yeah, my plan is to go to my first nationals in 24, and it's not the close one.
Oh no, you're gonna go to Bama.
I am going to. I've got a really good feeling about 2024 Open Nationals, and
Okay.
I've convinced Mr. Corey Katz to go down with me. So I'll drive down to Cleveland like on the Tuesday, and then we'll drive all day Wednesday from Cleveland to Talladega.
Cleveland to Talladega, that's going to be probably 11 hours, 12 hours.
I think it's a little bit shorter because I think it's 11 from my house. So I think it might be only 10, but yeah.
It's like almost 7 for me from Cincinnati.
Yeah, that's true.
And it's like 4 from Cleveland to Cincinnati.
Yeah. Which is
almost, maybe 3.5, maybe.
Have you spent much time in Cleveland?
Not a lot.
You're lucky because that's where we're headquartered at is in Cleveland. And I had to go to Cleveland this year. It was fun because I got to go have dinner with Corey, but I don't like.
Yeah, I mean, I get up there every now and then because for my job, I've got customers in Ohio, Kentucky, Indiana, and Michigan. Mm-hmm. So I've obviously naturally got some in Cleveland or the Cleveland area. So I do get up there every now and then, but most of the time it's not in the city. It's outskirts, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's always the outskirts. Yeah, and I found that I don't like driving in big city traffic. That's just me though.
No, it sucks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, especially when you says, "Oh, it's only 3 miles away," and then it's like, "Why is this taking me 15 minutes to get there?"
Right. Yeah.
When 15 minutes to me is 15 miles, not.
Well, that's because you live in the middle of nowhere.
Duh. I mean, that's why I live in Michigan. I mean, besides the fact that I can be like,
this is where it is. It's right here, right?
Here you go. If anyone doesn't know where I am, smart assily pointing to my hand for my finger maps.
Yeah, yeah. Finger maps like Michigan. You got which I forget which way it is. Like Detroit over here,
Yeah.
and then you got Lansing, and then you got Grand Rapids,
Yep.
right?
Exactly. It's
And
exactly
then
how
somewhere
it
up here
is.
is Midland.
Yeah. I mean, I'll be technical. It's probably like right there,
Yeah.
but anyway, I mean, that's just me being my Michigander self. But Brad, we're kind of near the end of our time tonight, but I do, like I said, brother, I appreciate this. I know you don't have any sponsors because you're just a normal guy, kind of like me.
Sponsored by me.
Yep. Well, and your American Express, Visa, Mastercard, right?
Just Amex, man. I don't use the other ones.
Oh shit! You got the Amex card. At least you're using Brandy's Amex though.
Hell no.
Oh damn.
No, she uses mine.
No, that's so funny though. But no. Do you have people that you want to you might not you're not sponsored, but people you want to shout out in the shooting sports?
Yeah, I mean, there's a few. So I gotta put a big shout out there to Dan Bedell at Bedell Custom Guns.
Mm-hmm.
I love the guy. He builds amazing guns. He's old school, but his guns just plain run. Um, the other typical guys that are out there, Brian at Hunters HG Gold. Brian is a true friend and a great advocate for what we do.
Especially now that you wear Active Blue.
I do. I wear Active Blues now, so I never got along with the ruby or gold lenses, but I tried the blues and I really really like them.
Mm-hmm.
So I got a couple of sets of lenses cut for my Rudy frames that I have been wearing for getting close to a decade now. And then who else is out there? Yeah,
Our friend in Bourbon Country.
our friend in Bourbon Country. I mean, anybody from Bourbon Country who can get me bourbon. Yeah,
You mean the guy who's crazy enough to run for Area 5 director?
Yeah, Leif. Yeah, love the guy from GX Products. Yeah, Leif is a great dude. Love the guy. Henning Walgren also. I know those dudes work together a bit.
Mm-hmm.
And Henning makes some primo stuff.
Oh yeah, I
hangers and everything like that.
I pretty much run everything Henning now on my open rig. The T900s, the T1000. What else is there? That conversation. If anyone actually cares, go watch the Henning conversation because that was really good.
Yeah. Trying to think of who else out there who I want to put a shout out to. Those are the big ones, right? Like you said, not really sponsored. Maybe I'll plug my dudes at Shooters Connection a little bit, just because they're close to me and I can get stuff from them pretty easily.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Same day shipping is quite nice in our sport when you're kind of like you break something and you need it now.
Same day or usually I'm in Cincinnati. They're in Georgetown, Kentucky, which is if you were to drive there, it would only take an hour and a half or so.
Worst comes to worst, if you're home, you could drive there.
Oh yeah, worst comes to worst, and I need something on the same day, I can go down there, right? Yeah. But otherwise, I usually get stuff the next day or 2 days later.
Right, nothing wrong with that.
Nope.
But yeah, no, Brad, brother, thank you for hopping on and chatting with me. It's been we always love hanging out and see each other, so it's always a good time no matter what.
Always good.
But brother, thank you for coming on, and to the listeners, get out and do the things. I will see you on the next one.